You're sitting alone in a sealed room. No windows, no internet, no phone, no clock. Just silence, the kind that makes you aware of your own breathing. There's a slot in the door. Through that slot, sheets of paper begin to slide in. On them are symbols, intricate, deliberate characters you don't recognise. They are not letters, they are not numbers, they might as well be alien markings. You do not speak Chinese. You do not understand a single mark on those pages. But inside the room with you is a vast rulebook. The rulebook is written in a language you do understand. It tells you exactly what to do. If you see this symbol, write that symbol. If these shapes appear together, return this sequence. If this pattern occurs, respond with these markings in this order. So you follow the rules. Paper comes in, paper goes out. At first it feels mechanical, tedious, empty. But outside the room, something extraordinary is happening. The people sending in the messages are native Chinese speakers. They are asking questions, telling jokes, arguing philosophy. And the responses coming back are flawless, nuanced, contextually perfect. From the outside it is obvious. Whoever or whatever is inside that room understands Chinese. But you don't, you never did. And here is the question that detonates everything. If perfect behaviour is indistinguishable from understanding, does understanding actually exist inside the system at all? Sit with that. Because this room is not a metaphor for computers. It is a mirror held up to modern intelligence. So that was the Chinese room thought experiment proposed by philosopher John Searle in 1980. It was designed to attack a very specific claim. If a machine behaves intelligently, it must be intelligent. Searle said no. He introduced a distinction that most people ignore because it's uncomfortable. Syntax is the formal symbol, manipulation, rules and structure. Semantics, on the other hand, is meaning, understanding and aboutness. The room has syntax. It has zero semantics. No symbol refers to anything. Nothing means anything to the system itself. The person inside doesn't understand Chinese. The rulebook doesn't understand Chinese. And even the system as a whole doesn't understand Chinese. Understanding is not addictive. You don't get meaning by stacking rules. And this matters more than it seems. Because once behaviour becomes the definition of intelligence, truth becomes optional. Critics quickly responded with something called the system's reply. They said, sure, the person doesn't understand Chinese, but the system as a whole does. Searle's response is elegant and devastating. He says, imagine I memorise the entire rulebook. I internalise every rule. I perform every operation mentally. In other words, I become the room. The slot disappears, the paper disappears, everything happens inside my head. Same inputs, same outputs, same flawless fluency. And still no understanding. Nothing is about anything, no meaning emerges, and this exposes a brutal truth. If memorization created understanding, exams would produce wisdom. They don't, because understanding requires something rules can't give you: experience, embodiment, context, and point of view. Modern AI systems are not minds. They do not think, they do not believe, they do not care. They perform probabilistic pattern matching on a scale humans can't comprehend. They predict which symbol should come next. That's all. And when prediction becomes powerful enough, it looks identical to intelligence. This is why AI unsettles people, not because it's conscious, but because it forces us to ask, how much of what we call thinking was ever more than pattern completion? AI doesn't understand language, it understands language-shaped data, and yet it writes essays, gives advice, explains emotions. Humans mistake fluency for wisdom because evolution taught us to. Smooth speech once signalled competence. Now it signals optimization. Now turn the room inward. Think about your beliefs. Not the ones you suffered for. Not the ones you tested. The ones you picked up. Politics, psychology, success, identity. How many of these ideas did you build from lived experience and deep reasoning? And how many did you assemble from headlines, algorithms, podcasts, comment sections, and influencers? You learned which phrases go together, which conclusions get applause. You didn't need understanding, you needed alignment. So the outputs become fluent. And when someone asks you to explain why, the system lags. Not stupidity, conditioning. We are raising articulate rooms. Watch what happens during any cultural crisis. Within minutes, positions harden, language synchronizes, talking points spread. People speak at each other using preloaded scripts. Ask one unexpected question, what evidence would change your mind? And the conversation collapses, because scripts don't adapt, understanding does. This is not discourse, it's symbolic warfare. The Chinese room wasn't about AI, it was a warning about societies that confuse consensus with comprehension. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Much of modern education does not teach thinking. It teaches compliance with symbolic systems, keywords, frameworks, rubrics. Students learn how to answer, not how to inquire. Then they enter workplaces that reward speed, certainty, and repetition. Depth becomes inefficiency. Silence becomes weakness. And the human becomes a well-trained room, highly functional, but hollow. Intelligence is not speed. It is not recall. It is not fluency. Wisdom is integrated over time. The ability to sit with contradiction, update beliefs without ego collapse, admit ignorance, and think without an audience. AI cannot do this, but neither can many humans anymore. That is the real crisis. Not artificial intelligence, but synthetic people. So here is the discipline. Slow down. Consume less. Think longer. Before you repeat an idea, ask, could I explain this with no quotes, no links, no borrowed authority? If not, you don't own it. Intelligence is not performance. It is depth under pressure. Because in a world full of perfectly convincing rooms, genuine understanding is rebellion. So don't become the room. If this episode was interesting, please like, follow, and even comment. This episode was sponsored by Strong Coffee Company, protein-packed coffees for energy and clarity. Use code VANCRUX1 for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com. And More Labs, clinically proven hydration and recovery drinks. Use code VANCRUX1 for 25% off at morelabs.com. And finally, Liquor Gummies, electrolytes and vitamins for hangover prevention and recovery. Use code VANCRUX1 for 20% off at liquor.com. That's liqure.com.